Well, good afternoon. Everybody ready? Oh. Yeah. Okay, we're getting started. Okay. 2:35. We're getting started. Okay, we're starting. All right. Good afternoon, fellow COC members, and to all the members of the public who have joined us. Thank you. Today is Thursday, March 13th of 2025. Welcome to the United to House LA Citizens Oversight Committee. It is now 2:35. And before we call the roll, please allow me a little housekeeping. Speaker cards. For those of you wishing to make a public comment, if you haven't already done so, please feel free to get a speaker card, fill it out, and hand it to one of our LAHD members of the staff. If you're joining us to the meeting virtually and would like to make a public comment, please refer to the instructions on the agenda on how to place yourself on the virtual queue. Speaker time, as always, we welcome and encourage public comment. As for your voice, it is vital on how we shape our policies and our direction. Thank you all for your comments, please. And we want everyone to be heard. However, to ensure that the committee has ample time to vet and deliberate the issues on today's agenda, we are requesting the following. Members of the group or organization that will be repeating the same message, please consider picking one or two folks to communicate that message so we end up with as much time as we possibly can to discuss, among other things, your points. We want and need to hear from you, but we need to move forward and with the work of ULA and ask you all to please work with me and to help make sure that we can do that. Your speaking time would be limited to 2 minutes per speaker. As far as translation, we will be utilizing simultaneous interpretation to prevent interruptions to our speakers. If anyone in the audience needs or requires Spanish language interpretation for the meeting, please notify one of our housing department staff. There we go. All right, they raised their hands in the back for you. They will be willing to provide you with one of these headsets. So that way you can follow along in our meeting. For those of you that do not speak Spanish, you also need a headset for English interpretation. And for those of you that are on Zoom that require interpretation, please select the appropriate language interpretation using the globe-shaped interpretation button, but only when you require it. Otherwise, please tune into the main audio channel. For example, if you are in the Spanish language interpretation channel, there will be a public comment in Spanish. You will need to switch your main audio so you can hear it in Spanish and vice versa. Also, thank you for that. We appreciate it. And I will ask our city attorney, Michael Castillo, to please take roll.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Madam Chair Coulter, absent. Good. Vice Chair Jones.
Here.
Member Saya. Committee Member Chen.
Here.
Committee Member Gesa. Member Holland. Committee Member Knight. Committee Member Lewis.
Here.
Committee Member Lipa.
Here.
Committee Member Morales.
Here.
Committee Member Raymond.
Here.
Committee Member Reed.
Here.
Committee Member Romero.
Here.
Committee Member Sanchez. Absent. Committee Member Solano.
Here.
And thank you so much. Do we
Yes,
have
we have
quorum?
quorum.
We have quorum. Thank you. Now we will take item number 3, which is public comment. Thank you again for those of you who have joined us that wish to speak. Speakers are allowed up to 1 minute per agenda item, and also 1 minute for general public comment for a total of 2 minutes. Right now, we will take in-person comments. We will start with the in-person comment cards, followed by those that are virtually on Zoom or by phone. Let's proceed with the in-person public comment.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. We have 2 comment cards. First speaker, Joe Donlin. Second speaker, Devin Woodfine.
Press the button. Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, members of the COC. Joe Donlin with the United Housing Coalition. First, I want to extend a warm welcome to General Manager Tina Johnson Hall today. So really glad that she's able to join the family for Measure ULA here today. I wanted to share that earlier this week, I had the opportunity to speak with one of the newest residents at the Santa Monica and Vermont apartments that is just moving in folks. The first ULA funded project, affordable housing project coming online. And, she was moved to tears, thinking about, what this new home and new community for her really means. And so, I just wanted to share that as something really, impactful that I think keeps us all motivated to keep doing this work. We have a letter. I'm not sure if it's made it to you yet or not, but in that letter, we make a couple of points regarding item number 7, which is the LAHD report. There is the NOFA timeline that is in there, and we wanted to call attention to that timeline because, as I think we all want to see, we want to see the ULA funds and programs moving as quickly as possible. And the timeline that's now being proposed is about 8 months delayed relative to what was passed under the expenditure plan last December. And I'm sure there's very good reasons for that, but I think we'd like to ask the COC to really call the question about can things move on a faster timeline, as we all need to know those resources really need to be hit the ground running as soon as possible. The second point is something I really want to draw the attention the COC to, which is a bill that's going to be released in Sacramento this coming Monday, AB 698 by Assemblymember Buffy Wicks. It is a bill that would severely damage Measure ULA and transfer taxes around the state. We are calling for this body and other bodies to stand against this and to prepare, perhaps through your communications ad hoc committee, communications that would help lift up the importance of Measure ULA, the funding that is raised to build affordable housing and homelessness prevention programs, and how damaging the exemptions that this bill would propose to apply to transfer taxes, in particular to Measure ULA. And so, perhaps it's a future agenda item that you want to add as well. But if there's time for discussion today, I think there's a lot to talk about on that item. So I'll end it there. Thank you.
Devin Woodfine.
Hello, I'm Devin Woodfine, and I'm here to talk about a recent phone call conversation I had with Chief Inspector Daniel Williams of LAHD. On March 3rd at 12:07, my mom called me saying that someone was breaking into the house. So I rushed downstairs, grabbed something, and I looked at our Ring camera and saw a man putting a notice up on our door. So when I opened, it was someone putting up a notice to come in for entry. And I asked, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm with the owner." And I says, "What's your name?" "Michael." And I says, "You can't put up a notice at this time. LHG doesn't permit that." He stated that I can put up a notice anytime. When I sent an email that same time to Mr. Williams and Ms. Ritsky of LAHD, I got a phone call later that day, and Mr. Williams says, I thought we had an understanding of what's going on. And I'm like, listen, my mom was by herself. I was asleep. There's no reason for you to have the landlord to be trying to bother my mother so late. And he was saying, that this one incident, I can't believe you're blowing it up out of proportion. And I said, I'm not bothering you with every single detail. The landlord took away our kitchen for a week. We couldn't cook or have any food. He exposed us to mold. I was diagnosed with upper respiratory infection. My mother is still sick here today. And he told me, I straight up asked him, can the landlord serve me a notice on the weekend? He said yes. Can the landlord serve me a notice during after business hours? He said yes. And I said, that's not true. LHD does not allow that. It has to be during work days, non-holidays, and business hours. So I says, this situation is bullshit, and I'm not appreciating it. He got upset and said, I will not be tolerating profanity, and hung up the phone. We were on the phone for 15 minutes. I sent him an email addressing all of this, and he didn't even respond to anything. He just says that I'm going to have the landlord serve you a new notice. How is it appropriate that the chief inspector of LAHD for the South and Central Division can tell me, a tenant who's aware of his rights and the anti-harassment, that I have to just be okay with the landlord, who I have multiple incidents with, documented with LAHD of harassment? Thank you.
That concludes the in-person comments. Do we have anybody joining us via telephone or Zoom?
Folks are having trouble joining the Zoom and telephone, so I believe there's a new meeting ID. Can I just say it so that people listening have the new Zoom meeting ID?
Yes, please.
Okay, so meeting ID 849-615-30932 is the right Zoom. I think it was wrong on the agenda.
Thank you so much.
And yes, we do have virtual public comment.
Thank you. We'll now move to virtual public comment.
Okay, so I'm going to allow Alfonso to speak.
Hi there, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. Hi, COC. My name is Alfonso Directo Jr. I'm the Advocacy Director at ACT LA. Nice to join you all this afternoon. I'm calling to express concern with a delay in the release of funding for the social housing programs. This falls under the item number 7, the LAHD update. We're really concerned that this 9-month delay from what was advertised in the LAHD City Council report back in December is really going to hamper our city's ability to address the housing crisis. These in particular affect programs for the alternative model programs and the acquisition and rehab preserving affordability program, where leveraging or matching the fundings with other sources is not required, and so does not need to be in sync with any other process for applying for funding. In fact, being able to secure funding for these through ULA could potentially even bring these projects into greater competitiveness during the process later to follow in the year of the Affordable Housing Managed Pipeline. So really the supernova idea that's proposed may work in some cases, but for the social housing programs, there's already a lot of interest in being able to apply for these funds, and the guidelines have been out already for several months. So we encourage LAHD to proceed with their plan of releasing the NOFAs for the alt model and the ACT Rehab Preserving Affordability Program this fiscal year, so by the end of June. And I encourage the COC to urge LEHD and the city councils to make these program NOFAs happen sooner too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'd also like to offer my humble apologies for anyone that couldn't join us via virtual. And I'd like to have the ID number repeated if possible for anyone else that's trying to join.
Meeting ID 849-615-30932.
Thank you. And for participants that are on Zoom or the phone, please use the virtual raise hand function or dial 9 to add yourself to the queue. Please also remember to unmute your mic. And on your device, press *6 on your phone after your name is called. Do we have any others?
Not at this time.
Is it possible that we can leave it open just in case
Yes.
someone wants to make a point?
Yes.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. That just for now concludes public comment. And we'll move on to item number 4. Now for the COC Chair's report. But first, I would like to introduce our 2 newest members, Crystal Romero and Nancy Lewis, as the newest members of the COC. And this is their first meeting. And if either of you would like to say a few words of welcome, please. We could start with Member Romero.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Crystal Romero. This is my first COC meeting. Very excited to be here with you all today as we do this very important work. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. A few of you I knew before, and those folks, nice to see again. I'm looking forward to joining you all. Just a little bit of my background. I worked in affordable housing development for about 40 years. I'm retired now, and so looking to try to make a contribution here.
And thank you both for joining us. We have just a little background information also. Ms. Lewis, Member Lewis, is filling seat number 1 and holds over 40 years' experience in the development of affordable housing. And she worked at Nancy Lewis and Associates as the senior level decision maker for nonprofit affordable housing development. And Nancy Lewis has always joined our COC in January of 2025. Also, next, Member Romero fills seat number 4. She's currently the Director of Future of Work, LA County Federation of Labor, the FL-CIO. Crystal brings 5 years of experience at the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor and 4 years coordinating the Port Division campaign with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. Yay! Ms. Romero has also joined the COC as of March of 2025. And welcome to you both.
Sorry, just wanted to offer one correction. That's my old title. I'm actually currently the press secretary at the LA Fed.
Ooh, little
Yeah,
louder
I
for
haven't
us.
been we don't have a future of work department anymore.
Okay,
But yeah, press secretary.
thank you for
though.
that. Okay, that concludes item number 4. Then we'll move on to item number 5. Next on the agenda is our ad hoc reports. And I will call upon members of the committees in order to give a brief report and information on their key conversations from their first meetings. And the first one would be from the Town Hall, an ad hoc report, Commissioner Nancy Lewis.
Hi, the Town Hall Ad Hoc Committee has met once and has scheduled monthly meetings going forward. We discussed a proposed date for a town hall of December 11th, 2025, and discussed where we might be able to hold the town hall. Generally, we're interested in pursuing the idea of some geographic equity to place the town hall in the community as opposed to downtown. And so are looking for an appropriate space that would be sufficient in size, looking perhaps for space that might accommodate 150 persons, be transit oriented, and have adequate parking for ADA accessibility and staffing. If anybody has suggestions as to such a place, please let me or any of the other committee members know. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. From the Communications Ad Hoc, Commissioner Solano.
Just checking. Okay, hi. So the communications ad hoc, we met on Monday. And we, so far we discussed different media strategies, earned media versus targeted media. So we've been thinking about giving press releases and, discussing what that would look like, working with news outlets and things of that nature. So that was talked about, as well as how the role that social media could take place in communicating these things. Particularly our goal with extending to the media and reaching these people is that we want to reach as many Angelinos as possible, to inform them about ULA and inform them with correct information, not misinformation. And, a lot of people don't even know that ULA exists or what it is. And I know that from firsthand. A lot of the people that I introduce them to, I'm their introduction, and they don't know that this is something that's even going on. So we really want to reach the people in that way. And we also discussed the possibility of, working with the LA Housing Department, and how we can build a, team effort, or how we can strategize together to get this information through. And we also discussed the amending of the bylaws. We will get into that more through a special meeting, which is what we've, I believe, intended to do today, but we'll see where that goes. And in the special meeting, we also wanted to discuss the creation of a ULA COC Instagram account, something that would be separate to the already existing ULA Instagram, and how that can help us with our communication outreach. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the report from the Permanent Guidelines Ad Hoc Committee, Commissioner Chen.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So based on the motion at the last COC meeting to reinstate the Permanent Guidelines Ad Hoc Committee for the express purpose of determining the weighting criteria and methodology for the fire burden priority factor for the income support program, the ad hoc committee met 3 times over the past month. Alongside guidance from the LA Housing Department, the committee proposed the following weighting criteria. Tier 1 of priority applicants would have incomes at or below 30% of area median income. They would live in an RSO unit. They would be severely rent burdened, so more than half of their income would go toward paying rent, and they would be fire impacted. Tier 2 of priority applicants would earn at or below 30% of area median income, live in an RSO unit, and be fire impacted. And last but not least, Tier 3 of priority applicants would be at or below 30% area median income and be fire impacted. The group does not have plans to meet again regarding the fire criteria and will be reinstated if and when needed to discuss implementation of the remaining ULA programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And a special note, there is a governance ad hoc committee, but their first meeting hasn't taken place yet. It's scheduled for March 20th. And we will provide a update for that report at our April's meeting. And this will conclude item number 5. Next up is on our agenda is the Interim Inspector General, our IIG report. And I now invite the team to provide us with a brief update.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So we just have a few updates this meeting for you all. First, I would love to introduce Sasha Ragland as a new staff member to the IIG. She is an associate here at Estelano Advisors and has been at the firm for almost 2 years. Her work at the firm has primarily focused on climate resilient infrastructure projects. She specifically is focused on supporting multiple park needs assessments, efforts to identify and prioritize the areas of highest need in LA County. Sasha works with community-based organizations to hear about their greatest climate concerns and collaboratively develop multi-benefit climate resilient infrastructure projects to help improve conditions. Sasha has also undertaken funding research to identify ways in which competitive grant sources can be more equitable and accessible to community-based organizations. And she will be primarily helping support the ULA Town Hall Ad Hoc Committee in their planning efforts for the December Town Hall. So Sasha, if you could give a little wave to the group, we're very happy to have you here. And my other update for everyone is that we do have a meeting scheduled in April for April 24th. So you should have all received calendar invitations for that, but I'll be double checking that the planning is good for that. And then we'll meet here in this boardroom. And that concludes our IIG report, and I will pass it back to Vice Chair Jones.
Thank you so very much. On to item number 7. Next on our agenda is a brief status report from the Los Angeles Housing Department on the ULA revenue and expenditures. And now I would turn it over to Mr. Good for our LAHD staff report.
Thank you, Vice Chair Jones. I can't really promise brief, but I can promise you an update. That I will do. Although I know the IIG is looking for time here. Good afternoon. Really a pleasure to see all of you. It's an opportunity to be here. I want to welcome our newest commissioners, Commissioner Romero, Commissioner Lewis. It's great to see y'all and look forward to seeing all the great work that y'all are going to be doing. I'm Greg Good, Director of Strategic Engagement and Policy at the LA Housing Department, and we'll jump right in. So to kick it off, we'll talk revenue and expenditures. For February, we received $31.9 million in revenue on 44 transactions. As you can see, that was not an insignificant dip from last month. However, it still maintains the general trend upwards. Obviously, too soon to ascertain or determine what that trend may reflect, whether or not that's a trend that will live in years to come in terms of the turn of the year, whether or not, frankly, the fires had any sort of ancillary impact there. Hard to read. Lots of analysis will be done. But that said, it still brings us to $288 million or 287. I was being generous in my rounding there. $287 million for fiscal year 24-25, which brings us near our entire revenue count for fiscal year 23-24. That's good news, and it brings us near $600 million in revenue over the course of just over a year and a half. I think that that's something to be very excited about. That is $600 million that otherwise would not have gone to and be going to housing and homelessness prevention programs. So I think that that's exciting, and we'll be anxiously looking for next month. It does put us, by the way, well ahead, not only of last year, but it puts us ahead of our anticipated revenue for fiscal year 24-25 that was approved by this group or endorsed by this group and approved by the City Council. We had anticipated 297 million. 297? Yeah, around 297. So we're almost there now. And that's exciting. That'll have implications for the programs in 25-26. Moving to any questions on revenue? Okay, moving to our budget to actuals. We continue to hold steady, not a lot of updates, primarily because, as you know, and we're going to talk at length here shortly, most of our affordable housing programs we are working on now, the homelessness prevention programs, short-term emergency assistance is spent out. Income support, I will update in a little greater detail here a little bit later in the update. Eviction defense prevention, we continue to spend out, and that's primarily through our contract with Laughlin, Stay Housed LA. Tenant outreach and education. That will, we have almost spent that out, although we have some left. We will be putting some of that towards communicating around fire implications for tenants, as we've discussed. And then protections from tenant harassment, that's a little bit of a misleading number in that those spends will show up as the staff are working, and that just hasn't shown up yet in our budget to actuals, but most of those positions have actually been filled and that work is getting done. That admin is similar. Most of that is encumbered for the remainder of the year, and that will trickle and show as cash moves out moving forward. For the public and for everyone here, this is just a more up-close review of the same thing. You see the housing, the affordable housing production programs, the homelessness prevention programs, and the admin programs. Any questions on budget actuals? Yes, Ms. Lewis, Commissioner Lewis, excuse me.
Yeah, just a clarification. This does not reflect that which is encumbered. The expenditures is simply what is actually out the door.
Cash out, yeah, that's right.
Okay. Is there a way, without getting overly complex, to show that, to show what is committed versus unencumbered?
I think we can do that, yeah. We'll circle back with our admin team and figure out how to have that sort of corollary. Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you.
My one indulgence that I would ask for is we're in budget season, and that means our admin team is pretty much 8 days a week, and so they're not super responsive to new requests right now. So, but we will absolutely do that. Makes a lot of sense. It would make this update a little easier too, actually. So yeah. Any other questions on budget actuals? All right. Moving forward. The affordable housing production programs. So the current plan, and we heard public comment around this, is to issue a supernova in late September of this year. And this will be a process to actually help streamline the approval process of the various funding sources that are available. The supernova, which will be one, and I mean, I personally envision this like, little S and cape on this thing. One NOFA that has your basic adhesive terms that are applicable across the board, with term sheets with specific loan limits and priority factors, et cetera, for each of the 5 programs, almost like the spokes around the wheel. Well, I'll come to the timeline, but what I would just explain is that one, this will get we think about $157 million out the door, which is exciting. And in addition to the 5 ULA programs, we would also add a term sheet for the city's affordable housing managed pipeline, NOFA, if you will, as well. We anticipate coming back to the COC in April with our proposed loan limits for each program, and be able to talk through what that looks like in terms of implementation. This here is a detailed breakdown of the timeline, and I want to start by just addressing a couple of things. One, I just want to be crystal clear about the housing department's commitment and desire to move the money out as quickly as possible. We share the desire of the coalition. We share the desire of our public commenters. We share it in the marrow of our bones. The creation of a supernova with separate term sheets is actually not a process that slows any particular project or any particular expenditure category down. Almost any NOFA that we would do, whether it was alt models or even multifamily affordable housing, would be on a similar timeline. It's just a process that takes time. And this is actually, just to be completely candid, pretty ambitious. It presupposes that we're going to be able to get through council as quickly as possible. It assumes that we're going to be able to get some work done during the summer. But almost any NOFA would take this amount of time. What we've done is put them all into the same frame. By doing the supernova, this is going to allow us to essentially get them all out. And because otherwise you're literally recreating work and it's duplicative. And so that's the vision with this. The proposal to be able to get the money out that was alluded to earlier, really, frankly, was, I mean, it was definitely sooner than we're anticipating now. And I'd say it was reflective of a number of factors. One, I will personally take responsibility for pushing us to be as aggressive in our expectations as possible, perhaps even more aggressive than in the end makes sense. And contrary to that, we want to be as realistic this time around as possible so that we set realistic expectations. Two, just to be perfectly candid, the guidelines, which set out that implementation plan and that timeline, were uploaded in August of 2024. They weren't approved until the last meeting of council before the winter recess. And then the immediate aftermath of winter recess, there was a little fire. And so we have been slowed by those dynamics. The expenditure plan, in which we got authority to actually put the money out, including engaging a consultant to help us with the cost and gap analysis in terms of figuring out loan limits, particularly on the newer stuff like alt models, that was uploaded in June of 2024. It was also approved in the last council meeting of December before winter recess and then before the fires. It's not an excuse, it's an explanation to our partners in terms of what it takes. So this is not a matter of LAHD saying, let's slow walk this. This is a capacity matter. This is a very, very thorough analysis of what we can actually get pulled off realistically, given the obligations that we have and what we are required to do. We anticipate, like I said, bringing to y'all proposed loan limits on all 5 programs. By the way, as we are also doing this, I would note that we are also finalizing the RFP for the fund administrator for the acquisition rehab NOAA program. We are about to close on the capacity building hub RFP. We anticipate transmitting what can be described as nothing short of a massive staffing plan by the end of April to council. And we are also working on the 26, 27, 27, 28, 28, 29 expenditure plan, all of which is a lot of the same people, simply put. And so this is a realistic timeline that we have vetted the daylights out of, quite frankly. And so we commit to pushing with the greatest amount of aggression, zeal, and vigor that we can possibly muster in this department. But we also want to be crystal and clear and transparent about what's realistic. And frankly, we learned a lot through the program guideline process. That was at times torturous and difficult in terms of getting things through. So with that, I just want to stress again that what this actually does allow us to do is to get it all out. And that's the concept with the supernova. If we simply said we want to do expenditure, we want to do NOFA X and NOFA Y first, That's not going to expedite that. That just means we're going to actually slow down another program. If we put alt models at the beginning of the queue and say we're going to wait on multifamily, then we're going to have to wait on multifamily. If we put multifamily first, we're going to have to wait there. What the supernova allows us to do is to not put anybody in the back of the line, for lack of a better way to put it. And we don't think it compromises what's going to be possible with all of those. So obviously, very open questions. I have zero doubt that there will be some. I look forward to it. But I just wanted to sort of ground lay or ground whatever, lay out the context there. And I think before I go into the others, why don't we just we'll open that for questions, if the chair will allow.
Yes. Any questions? Any comments? Commissioner Romero? Lewis? Commissioner Lewis?
Just a question, what is pre-launch prep?
Oh, wait, where's pre-launch prep is, so oh, yeah. So that presupposes that the RFPs, or excuse me, not the RFPs, that the NOFA, the supernova, and all the different term sheets are approved by council by the end of June. Recess starts in July. And so pre-launch prep is basically it's potential bidder conferences. It's all of the work to lead up to actually hosting the NOFA. Anything I'm missing on that, Kelly?
Notification of the NOFA prior to opening, uploading it actually in the NOFA portal, basically making it public facing.
And the web development of the portal.
This is just an inquiry of mine, and forgive me if I'm like jumping ahead, or correct me if I'm wrong in any capacity of
No
my
worries.
understanding. So I understand that the NOFA, it notifies developers to apply, right, to, these projects. And with regards to alternative models, as I think, yeah, even stated beforehand by Alfonso, I think, there are developers that have, been, I know the permanent guidelines passed in regards to permanent affordability and stuff of that nature for alternative models. There's also the other one, in regards to social housing, that angle. There's the aspect of also working with tenants and things of that nature, partnerships with community land trusts and things of that sort. Who decides which developers get approved to apply these alternative models? And what steps could be taken to ensure the developers that do get accepted into this have that sense of tenant, governance in mind? That's just a question of mine, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. So absolutely. So thank you, Commissioner. So just in terms of the who selects, there will be a scoring panel within a LAHD, and that's a process that we've gone through many times, and they score according to the scoring frameworks that are guided by the permanent program guidelines that would then be reflected in the NOFA, and that would be reflected in the term sheet specific to whatever program they've applied to. Part of and then in the implementation, once there's an approval and once basically an award is granted and that project is ready to go, we have staff that track with those projects all the way through. And as a condition of our loans, which is what these ultimately are, they have to meet those specs. Concurrent with that, we're going to be developing the capacity building hub, which will be around training not only tenants, but potential owners and managers on what it means to have a robust level or even more muscular level of tenant participation, even tenant governance. And this will be, look, this is new territory. And so we'll be doing our normal stuff, which is that, our staff will be tracking, there will be staff assigned to each project, tracking how that's going, how their compliance with their tenant governance plan, which will be part of any proposal. So anybody applying for the alternative models, new construction, alternative models preservation, ACT rehab purchasing, and/or ACT rehab preservation, they're going to have a tenant sort of participation plan as part of that proposal, and they'll be held to that by our staff. So as a condition of the continuation of the project and the loan. You're welcome. Great question. Thank you.
Yes.
So I'm not sure whether it's a question or comment, but obviously we are seeing here a process that is 13 months process, and it's long. And we don't have enough details here to really understand whether this can be shortened by 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or none. I mean, there is really nothing here that I can look at other than I accept, you know, I hear you out. So I don't know if there is something that we can all do together with you to see if this can be shortened. I mean, when I look at anything that takes 3 months, I say, really? Anything that takes 2 months, really? So I have to admit, I don't have any information to be able to accept this or not, because there is no detail. So I would like to really see more detail so we can really look at it and together with you say, yes, I mean, there is no choice, 13 months, but given everything that's going on in the city, maybe there is a way to shorten it. I don't know.
So I think that thank you. Yeah, I'm also not sure if statement or question, but I'm going to treat this question because I got a couple of thoughts. One is we're going to keep, well, LHD is going to keep coming back, right? So that's the elegance and the beauty of the COC. So we'll be engaged in this process and updating every step of this process. I think that it's a little interesting territory just in that because we're talking about RFPs and projects, the direct engagement of the COC in the process of this process is a little, I mean, we want to counsel with the city attorney on how direct it can be involved in the process. And then, I think we'd be happy to talk through everything. What this is based on is pattern and practice, right? I mean, just speaking, for example, on the council review and approval of NOFA terms, and look, there's a lot of folks in here with as much sophistication around legislative process as I have, but realistically, these NOFAs are going to end up having to be reviewed by the Housing and Homelessness Committee, possibly Budget, Finance, and Innovation. Then you've got to get to full council. I will just tell you that I've already, heard from council that they are going to want time to sort of dive deep, and so 2 months is going to, that's to me, for example, May, June, that's the scariest part of this thing. We're going to get the transmittal uploaded with the NOFAs in April. So there's that, Commissioner Lipa. And then, the scoring and selection, not sure how much we can truncate that. Council approval of awards, that's another one of those. So yes, we will gladly engage. We can provide more detail. I'm not sure it would be any less sort of speculative in reflecting it.
I'll tell you the truth. I'm from listening to you, I'm worried that it's going to be much longer.
Well,
just listening, because you're putting a lot of ifs and, stuff.
Well, I don't want to.
So I'm even worried about that, not even shortening. But
well, and that's why I say this is candidly ambitious. This is aggressive. This is not us sitting on our hands. I assure you, this is aggressive. And I'm worried too.
Madam Vice Chair, if I may.
Yes.
In response to Committee Member Lipa's concern, and also to Greg's point about the process, I just want to clarify that Committee Member Lipa was talking about the length of the process, not about the selection of developers, not about anything related to selection, but rather the length of the process and how it might be accelerated. The second point I might make to this committee is that it's entirely appropriate for this committee to opine on the necessity and the sense of urgency, given the extreme crisis in the availability of housing in the city, this being really the singular source of funding available, and it's been available for months now. So it's just not directed at LHD, but you'll note that 5 months out of that 13 months is about the city council. So I'll just note that if the committee feels that this is something that they want to opine, it's completely within your purview to express your concern and your worry about the sense of urgency to city council members and the mayor about the need to move expeditiously to release funds at a time of great crisis. I'll just state that as your IIG, because your purpose here is to really oversee the administration of these funds. So again, not a knock on LHD. Greg's absolutely right. This is a regular course, how long it takes, but these are not regular times.
I completely agree.
Yes,
Dr.
that was
Randler?
a good segue because I am very concerned about this. I mean, like if we're talking about February 2026 as awards given, and that's ambitious, like that's 3.5 years after this passed, right? And some of these we've had no expenditures in some of these programs yet. And, you know, and that's when the awards are given, and then it's going to take time, of course, to build, acquire, and things of that nature. So I am really concerned about this. I think we need to look at how we can shorten this timeline. And I would also, I don't know that I agree that breaking it up and having some programs go first and trying to just shorten the process on some programs, and maybe that will, you know, since we're not trying to manage all the different program NOFAs at the same time, that might speed things up. And then at least we can get maybe like the preservation programs, for example, that could potentially get some projects moving quickly, would make sense to break those off. So, you know, the letter that we have from the CLT Coalition and ACT LA is talking about the social housing programs. So that'd be the preservation programs and the new construction programs, breaking those off first. Like I tend to agree, like we should really think about that because I think we just have to show folks in LA, like things are moving. We got a lot of skepticism when we were proposing this because things take so long. And I think that's what happened with Measure HHH, and it's happened in the past, is like, we wait so long and then people think it's a failure, even though things are in the pipeline. So I think, I just feel like we have to think this through and come up with a better plan.
Agreed, thank you. Who was first? Commissioner?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, thank you so much for the presentation. For me, looks like more like how to mention this is like more data, but we need to put versus the urgency for our community, for the issues, the homeless, right? And the purpose that has we working so hard for ULA is because we had the urgency. Now how we can to give to the community the answer that they need and put the urgency to the city hall, to anything. But I think so this is more like numbers and timelines and everything. But I think so we need to review this and see what is the urgency for our community and how to start to management more fast for give some results to them. And I hear like the needs and the urgency for the community. And this is like noise. We have a lot of time, months, and I understand this is new, but we need to thinking more in the community day by day. They need some testimony, people for the owners and how to help them. But thank you so much for this presentation. But I think so we need to start to thinking more as commissioners how to support more the community with these needs.
Thank you, Commissioner.
If I might, I mean, I would just, A, thank you all, the comments and the questions. And B, reiterate, like, the urgency is shared. I mean, this is not I mean, frankly, it drives me crazy too, that it takes so long to do anything. And it's really challenging. And some of you have been involved and work with me and with us on trying to get things done. Like I said, last year, yes. So But as a reminder, I mean, just contextually, I will say, on the affordable housing programs, other than the multifamily affordable, $11 million in the multifamily affordable housing program, or excuse me, 52 for the, sorry, 52 million in the multifamily affordable housing program in fiscal year 23-24. We've never been given authority to spend a single dollar.
And that's the
Not a
point.
single dollar until December 10th, 2024.
That's the point. We need to stop that
And
delay.
we are all hands on deck, full tilt boogie to try to get these dollars out. And Commissioner Morales, that's part of the idea with, frankly, the Supernova is community. I mean, because every single one of these programs, to Commissioner Raymond's point, I mean, the alt models is potentially the most complex RFP. Alt models both preservation RFPs are new. Those may be the more complex RFPs to actually, or term sheets to actually get done. Operating assistance, the testimony we heard, those are buildings not getting maintenance. Those are buildings being allowed to turn into dilapidated monsters, and the operating assistance program is an opportunity for building owners to actually avail themselves of cash to actually fix the HVAC, to fix to do the things that we want them to do. And so in the multifamily affordable housing, if we delay on that, then they do, which are dependent on tax credits in September, we delay on that, we run the risk of them falling out of another cycle. And that is critical funding, and that's critical job creation. We are confident that we can do a Supernova. And we have teams literally working right now on all of the term sheets for these different programs. I would just humbly suggest and posit that I don't think the Supernova is the challenge. It is the process to get the Supernova through the process. And we welcome this engagement. We welcome the opportunity to report every single meeting and to go through this, and to meet with an ad hoc, we are addicted to epiphanies. If there are suggestions about how we can truncate the process, we're down, for sure.
Commissioner Raven?
Yeah, just real.
Yes.
You want to go first? Okay, yeah, just real quick. Could we communicate to city council concern about the timeline? I think coming from the
I
COC.
think we should.
So
You've
maybe,
done that before. You've
Yeah.
issued communications in the past.
so I'd like to make a motion. Can I make a motion now? No,
Jenny?
advise.
You could direct the interim inspector general on your behalf to draft a letter to the city council communicating whatever you would like us to do, or you could ask that your chair do that same, or work with us to do that.
Okay. Does that have to be a motion? Sorry. No. Okay, so we'll do, okay. Do folks,
So noted.
okay. I would like us to do that. I would like us to communicate with city council the concern on this timeline, because Greg is right, like some of the holdup is gonna be like these 2 months of NOFA terms, and just having their political buy-in is gonna be really important to move this along.
Agreed. Commissioner?
I also think, maybe this is also part of that, but I think to Greg's point, there is some of this that can be done concurrently. So while council's reviewing, pre-launch prep can be happening. You can be doing the web development. There might be small changes, but a NOFA is going to happen.
Yep.
So it feels like we could cut some months off even there by doing some of these things while we're waiting for council to approve whatever. And maybe we can get their approval faster. But I also wanted to say, yes, I think we all share the same concerns. At least I'm thinking we all do, on timeline. But even in this economic environment we're in, all the time that we do not get it out, every dollar we get out eventually next year is going to mean less with costs increasing. So I think we need to keep that in mind. But we have, $600 million available. It's just going to mean less when we get it out late 2026. So I'm really concerned about that as well.
Excellent point.
And I would just concur that the most salient and critical message is it's got to get done. So we welcome your support on that.
Commissioner Chen?
Can you clarify what the COC will be reviewing at the April meeting?
Proposed loan limits for each program.
Oh, okay, just the loan limits?
Just the loan limits, yeah.
Okay,
Recall, Commissioner Chen, that was one of the requirements we all approved, y'all approved and council approved in the permanent program guidelines, is that on an annual basis, we would come to the COC with proposed term limits or loan limits, because loan limits today will mean nothing in 28, 29 or 38, 39, so that it should be an annual process to reflect the dynamism of the market.
and the NOFA terms, that term sheet will go straight to council. It will not be reviewed by the COC prior to going to council. Okay, thank you.
But it will be a reflection of everything in the permanent program guidelines.
Okay.
Is there a way to have that term sheet sent to us for review, even though we may not be able to make a decision on it? Can we just see it?
You can certainly see it, and it's public. It'll be a public document. My only reticence is, and Mr. Custodio, I don't think there'd be any legal issues. Yeah. Yeah. Once it's public, there's no problem at all. Yeah.
Thank you.
I guess it will be clear, Greg, and obviously we appreciate all the work that you're doing, no question about it. But I think it would be fair to say that we just don't accept this. This is too long. I mean, we need to do something about it. I understand all the past stuff, but we have a community that is really struggling. We have an industry that is very questionable about everything that we are doing and other stuff that's going on, even though they keep voting for more money, but nevertheless, there is a lot of issues. We just need to find a way to really get, the communities that is struggling, getting them money faster and showing everybody that this is different. This is not normal. I mean, if we just go normal procedures, normal stuff, faster or slower, or it can be even longer, then I don't think we are doing our work.
Effective.
And I just want to make sure that this is strongly not acceptable by the community, by us.
Agree. Commissioner?
Yeah, you made a reference before, or somebody did, to a staffing plan. To what extent is this dependent upon additional staffing and hiring, and or could be accelerated through additional staffing and hiring?
So what we have done at this point is basically, there's a whole bunch of people that are putting everything else on hold. I mean, that's happening now, just so everyone's aware, because there is no capacity to hire immediately. We're not allowed to do it, and it's not even possible. So there are folks within the Housing Development Bureau who put everything on hold, and they're working on these right now. The staffing plan actually reflects, and by the way, the COC's support and the community support and council support will be critical in this staffing plan, because what we will be proposing is something somewhat out of the box, where we will be proposing a 3-year staffing plan versus a sort of linear right here in front of you staffing plan, meaning anticipating out, like we don't need financial development officers. We don't need additional financial development officers, and this is just an example. We don't need additional financial development officers yet, because we don't have deals happening. And so what we'll be proposing, anticipating when the projects will get started, we're going to be requesting, and sorry if this is in the weeds, but I figure you like the weeds, working backwards to have the authority to start the hiring process here and getting the resolution authorities to do them here. So it's a staffing plan that tries to phase in so that, to use a scientific phrase, bottoms are in the seats the day we need the work. rather than what typically happens in the city, which is that you're only allowed to ask for the authority to hire someone the day you figure out you need somebody, right? And then you ask, and then you hire, and then you go through this process. So it'll be a very ambitious and comprehensive staffing plan that tries to, again, project needs so that we're not waiting for humans. A good example, and folks are aware, folks will remember some of the original COC members will remember this, and the coalition will remember this, with protections from anti-tenant harassment. It took us almost a year once council approved the temporary guidelines, which eventually became the permanent program guidelines for that program, to actually be able to get the bodies that were approved in the plan, if that makes sense. And so we're trying to phase that into where we have the people. But the short answer in terms of this process is we can't rely on hiring anybody right now. So we're using everybody we got, and it's all hands on deck when people are pausing other things, quite frankly.
So, so for example, I mean, just to pick one of the things, scoring and selection would not be accelerated through additional staffing?
I mean, potentially, but I mean,
Or you just don't
you're all
think you
gonna
can
love
reach
this,
that?
but like,
You
we don't
can't
have,
reach that staffing?
right, we don't have the authority to hire, and we'd never have people, I mean, you're gonna, I mean, welcome back to welcome to the city, Commissioner. We couldn't get those bodies in the seats by then if we started today. It's just, unfortunately, that's the other trap that or the trial we deal with. I mean, it's a great question, and one thing we could potentially look at is contracting, but I don't think we could contract to do the scoring, you know.
Commissioner Romero?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to ask what, if there was any logic around the May introduction of council review, if that's where we anticipate there'll be the most holdup. Is there any way to introduce it to council like ASAP, like next week or next month, in order
Well, they're
to
not done.
start that process sooner?
They're not done. We're drafting. I mean, we're figuring out the loan limits. We need to bring the loan limits to y'all. Then we have to, you know, we finalize the drafting, finalize the master NOFA, essentially create a transmittal or a report. Candidly, that'll have to be reviewed by the CAO. We'll have to go through, you know, and so, I mean, this is going to be a push, even there.
Madam Chair. As your IAG, I have a suggestion. In the past, this committee has been very effective with its chair and vice chair communicating with the council directly on the urgency of different matters. And I might suggest that the chair and the vice chair might consult with key council members, particularly the chair of the Housing and Homelessness Committee, on a strategy to accelerate approval of this NOFA by the council. And there are a number of ways that could be done, but I think working directly, this is certainly a committee that is committed. This committee, as well as the council committee, is committed to getting the money out the door. There are ways that this can probably be shortened. And I would just suggest that maybe if this COC is willing to empower the chair and the vice chair to move forward with the goal of trying to shave 5 or 6 months off this process, that then the two of you can move forward, and we're happy to support you as the IIG in setting up those discussions.
Beautiful. We all agree? Do we need to make a motion, take a vote?
What is the motion?
Does anybody want to entertain a motion? Commissioner Raymond.
Yes, I move that the chair and vice chair come up with a plan to engage city council on expediting council approval at every step of this.
So moved?
There needs to be a second.
Second.
Second. Thank you.
Yes.
Call for a vote?
Can we, I'm sorry.
Discussion?
Yeah, but just a second.
Sure.
I think that the idea of maybe that is fine, but maybe putting a goal for 6 months, 7, you know, something in front of them to show the urgency. Maybe that's something that we should have.
Because one thing about that is also, sorry, Madam Chair, is that you want to get your money out the door as fast as possible, but also to retain the construction crews as quickly as possible before the rebuilding starts with the burn zones, just to be quite frank. And so the fastest that the city of Los Angeles can get its affordable housing money out the door so that it's not in competition with all the homeowners who are going to be retaining the very same workers and the same building materials, the better. So it's just one thought. They can go. So I think there are many arguments you can make about why the process needs to be expedited. And I know the mayor shares that commitment. I know the housing department shares that commitment. But you as independent committee members who have some sense of that sense of urgency and are not bound by the way things have always been done are probably in the best position to help make that conversation happen. So yeah. Always good to have a goal.
I can see here, but I'm looking to this
No, we're all nodding.
side. I'm looking at this side, maybe shortening by 6 months is a good goal.
Can we amend?
So that would be a friendly amendment. Committee member Raymond, if you would accept it.
Yes, I accept.
So the motion is to direct the chair and the vice chair of the COC to work with the city council and the mayor and others to shorten this process by 6 months.
Excellent. And we have a second?
The seconder has to accept the friendly amendment? Okay.
Okay.
And
Roll call vote,
unless there's any other discussion.
unless there's any more
Motion to
discussion.
approve? Call roll?
Madam Vice Chair Jones,
Yes.
Committee Member Chen,
Yes.
Committee Member Holland,
Yes.
Committee Member Lewis,
Yes.
Committee Member Lipa, Committee Member Morales, Committee Member Raymond, Committee Member Reed, Committee Member Romero,
Yes.
Chair Coulter, absent. Committee Member Sanchez, absent. Motion passes.
Thank you. Did you want to continue?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So I'm going to do it to the
Okay,
William Tell
excuse me, close
Overture.
to Mr. Good?
Thank y'all for that conversation, your support, push. Quickly, we've also been making steady progress on the income support for disaster relief, creating a framework to use the income support for rent burden at-risk seniors and persons with disabilities in the fiscal year 24-25 expenditure plan for seniors and persons with disabilities who have been negatively, or households with seniors or persons with disabilities who have been negatively impacted or economically impacted or displaced by the fires. As a reminder, this would utilize that 14.6 million. And right now, what's essentially happening, the COC ad hoc, and this was reported on, met 3 times. We developed an additional priority factor, and we are in the process of developing an administration plan with the Community Investment and Families Department, and they anticipate us being able to get this rolling at the beginning of this summer. And so we are moving forward as aggressively as possible there. We're also developing a report for council, a joint report that will lay out that implementation plan. And before, actually, I don't want to steal thunder. Real quick, as a final just point of privilege before I hand over the podium to our new general manager, Tina Johnson Hall, to introduce herself. I'd like to just take a moment to share with this group that this will be my last COC meeting, as I will be leaving the housing department in about a month, actually right before your next meeting. I may come and just watch, hear about the loan limits. You know, on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, almost 59% of Angelenos approved the United House LA ballot measure, a transfer tax, ULA, the artist we love and know as the mansion tax. The goals of ULA, explicit and inferred, were to build and provide and protect affordable housing, alternative, traditional, social, to prevent homelessness, to prevent unwarranted, any evictions, people falling out, and to forge a groundbreaking level of partnership between the public sector and the community in taking on with creative and collaborative zeal and vigor the greatest existential crises facing this city ever, the crises of housing insecurity and homelessness. This partnership manifested in this Citizen Oversight Committee, already one of the most important commissions in the history of this city. The establishment of 11 spending programs, and as frustrated as we get at times, if you look at the girth of what has been built out, the foundation of ULA in a very short amount of time, due to the work of this group, due to the work of the community, 11 new programs, almost $600 million in revenue that otherwise would not have existed. And per our previous overview, ultimately, thousands and thousands of affordable housing units and lives stabilized in the city of Los Angeles. There are a lot of challenges ahead. We've just discussed a bucket of them, right? Political, legal, operational. But none of that changes the fact that an overwhelming amount of Angelenos, and as the challenges continue, we have to continue saying this to ourselves and to everyone we have the opportunity to say it to. We should turn blue in the face as long as we keep saying this. An overwhelming amount of Angelenos said, we want to change the way things are done. We want fairness. We want to commit ourselves to the marathon and the sprint, and we want to do things differently. We want to shake the snow globe. And Angelenos did that. So I'm proud of what this collaboration has yielded. I'm proud of the infrastructure and the programming we've developed together. And most importantly, I'm proud of the table we have set for ULA to make permanent change in this city. I want to thank, and I am going to list them, to have been so lucky to work for the last 2.5 years with Callie, with Edwin, with Teddy, with Patricia, with Matthew, with Sharon, with Dana, Adriana, Sophia, Regina, Meg, Joel, Greg, Eric, Nancy, Stephen. These are all incredible badasses who work so hard. They bleed at the fingertips to get this stuff done. I want to thank Ann Sewell for giving me the car keys a bit. And I want to thank this body for its tremendous leadership and work, including those members who are no longer on the committee. I want to thank the IIG, who's just an incredible leader and centering force in this entire thing. I want to thank Joe and the coalition and Jackson for its vision, its creativity, its relentlessness, and its push. And I want to thank Angelenos for giving us this opportunity. So thank you.
And I'd also like to say on behalf of the COC to thank you, sincere thanks, for taking the sprint with us, right? Allowing us to give you all this homework and your tenacity and your gumption and doing it all with a smile. And we appreciate you. You will be greatly missed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. I will now hand it over to the spectacular new general manager of the LA Housing Department, Tina Johnson-Hall.
Just briefly, we actually do need to close out the item 7 LHG report, and the introduction of the new general manager is a separate item. Sorry.
Turn my mic on, sorry. And we'd definitely like to have our new Los Angeles Housing Department General Manager. This is item number 8. Tina Hall, please come and introduce yourself. Tina has a deep experience in the housing and finance, and she has recently was the director of California Housing Finance Agency. Tina was born and raised in the city of Los Angeles and worked previously for the Housing Department. And we are excited as the COC to meet her and look forward to getting to know her a little bit more. And welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair Jones. As was stated, I am the new general manager of the Housing Department. And I certainly appreciate the opportunity to meet each of you today. Some of you I know already from being in the community of affordable housing developers or lenders or consultants or just people who just love people. So I'm excited to be here and also excited to be a member of this incredible team. As some of you know, I started my role as general manager on January 6th. Yeah. And then on January 7th, we experienced a disastrous wildfire, resulting in unimaginable loss and devastation. So as a result, our already urgent dual crisis of homelessness and housing insecurity now has been joined by the devastation caused by these fires and the loss of vital housing stock, which keeps me up at night. So while I was already focused on housing production as a priority, it's even more now imperative that we all collaborate and in partnerships to address this housing situation and challenge that's going to get worse. So as many of you know, and as was already mentioned, I worked for the California Housing Finance Agency. I did that for 10 years, initially as a board member, and then I went on to become the executive director. My background is in finance. I've spent most of that time at working in banks, either on the commercial real estate side, the community development lending side, the CRA investment side, or just the CRA all things. And I've enjoyed every moment of that. But what some of you may not know is that my 30-year journey actually started 5 years before that. That was when I was a young 20-something with 2 kids against my parents' will. And not able to survive by myself without the support of my family and my friends. I actually was kind enough, it was actually someone that at least lent me some bus money so that I could go and apply for affordable housing. And that was my road and my journey to freedom, as I now see it, because it took a year and a half, but in a year and a half, I was able to get into affordable housing. With that, I was able to afford childcare because they had a childcare facility. And for the first time in almost 3 years since I had my children, we also had benefits. The journey to affordable housing takes collaboration of the work that you all are doing. And I'm just evidence of how it could actually work out for the good. I'm just one person. I have dedicated my life to this effort because someone, somewhere, was staying up late at night to create something called affordable housing, which has changed my life and the life of my children, who, by the way, are now both bankers. And one of them is doing affordable housing lending. That's how this whole process works, folks. We teach people how to do things better. We save them from an otherwise path of destruction. And then some of them, many of them, go on to have really quite productive lives. I'm evidence of that. That's why I'm so humbled and honored to be here today. Because I could have been anywhere, but I ended up here with you. I'm looking forward to work that we will do together. I'm looking forward to this incredible team that I'm working with. I'm looking forward to the journey in spite of all things that are so hard. It's worth it because the opportunity for the future for these folks that we're trying to deliver to is absolutely vital. It's important. So with that, I want to end on a note of gratitude. I want to say, first and foremost, thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg, for all that you have done. It wasn't easy starting up this program from a vision, from scratch. Flying the plane ain't easy, is it? Especially when you're building it at the same time. He has put in many, many countless hours. And I take privilege and ask that we just thank him with a hand clap before he goes. I'll do my best, but I will commit to you that I'm going to get a new Greg as soon as I can. Because the work, I think that what he has proven is that having a point person means having a person that can help guide this process, along with, of course, your support and guidance. We can really do something great. I'll also be looking at what we've just talked about, the timeliness. That is something, this is urgent. It's more than urgent. Every month that I stood outside affordable housing was every month of anxiety and fear. So I get it. And I can commit to you that my team will be looking at all of those timelines sincerely. We actually have a transmittal in right now where we're talking about how we might be able to streamline this process. And I would urge this committee to take a look at that, because not only does that help this program, it helps all the programs that we are working on going forward. So with that, I thank you, Vice Chair, for giving me a moment of time today. And I offer up any questions or anything that anyone would like to ask me. I yield any time that I have left for that.
We have our ultimate welcome. And are there any questions for our new general manager?
Well,
Right,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
And welcome. That actually concludes our item number 8. And we can move on to item number 9. Next on the agenda is a discussion for the consideration of the RFP for auditing services. And I will hand this over to Ms. Cecilia Estelano, our IG.
Great, this is so exciting, an RFP, a request for proposals for auditing. Okay, but it is very important because this committee was set up to ensure that the money was spent appropriately and wisely and efficiently. So we are submitting to you for your review and approval the first RFP for auditing services that this committee is considering. Alongside that RFP is a supplemental item you're going to find in your folders, a copy of the proposed timeline and process document for how the RFP is going to get out. And let me show you what it looks like. I mean, the RFP is pretty short as far as RFPs goes, but this is the process document that really describes how it's going to work. And then there's a nice schematic on the final page to follow along. This is just a reminder that under the measure, the COC and its staff is supposed to oversee an annual external audit of House LA fund receipts and expenditures. So this RFP is solely to review the receipts and expenditures of the funds. It's not a program evaluation. It is not about a gap analysis. It's none of that. It's literally like what money came in, what money went out, was it appropriate? I drafted this audit during the first 2 months of the year with the assistance from the LAHD procurement team. So thank you very much for helping us get this RFP out. That auditor will be subcontracted to us, the IIB. The total budget for the auditor is going to be $90,000, and the work will be wrapped up by December 2025. So it's going to look at the first 2 years of this program. Alongside LAHD and some COC members, we're going to facilitate the creation of a review panel to review and score applications in accordance with the timeline that we outline in the process document. If you all approve the RFP today, we're going to begin immediately reaching out to vendors that we have found through the RAMP and the CFMS. Those of you who do procurement know what that is. I'm not even going to pretend to tell you what it stands for. And we're going to post the audit on RAMP, EA Link, our LinkedIn, the COC website, and everywhere else we can find it. If you had a chance to look at the details for the RFP, we're looking for folks who have experience dealing with the City of Los Angeles, understanding those processes. They have to have experience and a number of hours working on auditing government programs. So it's not going to go out to the world. It's going to go out to that universe of people who know how to audit government expenditures. So that's what the RFP is. There's also, of course, a program evaluation that we're going to be talking about and setting metrics, but that's separate. This is about really just the financial audits, and it's very, very straightforward, and that'll be concluded by December. So that's our proposal. I'm going to pass it back to Vice Chair Jones and ask for an aye vote, recommend that you approve the RFP.
And thank you so much, Cecilia. I appreciate it. Since this is an action item, we will open up for discussion from any of the commissioners. Commissioner?
Just one note, as we're looking at the town hall meeting in December, it would be great to be able to coordinate completion of that with this work with that.
I love it. We had always hoped that that town hall would be an annual time for us to review the numbers. So that would be terrific. We'll work very closely with you and maybe we accelerate this so that it gets out a little quicker.
Beautiful. Any others? All right, seeing none. All right, can we move to approve
Yeah,
the?
entertain a
article?
motion. Is there a motion?
Entertain a motion?
I so move.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's moved by Commissioner Lewis and seconded by Commissioner Raymond. All right. Can we call for a vote? Yes.
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 Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. All right. That concludes item number 9, and we'll move on to item number 10. Today, we would like to approve, even though she is not here, our chairperson, Michelle Coulter, as an additional member of our 2025 Town Hall Ad Hoc Committee. Just a little history, we just assumed that one of us should be on that committee, and since neither one of us were on the committee, and I already have 2, in addition to the chair, will help to coordinate and streamline the decisions made on the committee and to ensure a successful town hall. And I will now open the floor for a discussion. Seeing none. Does that mean we can call for a vote? Oh, call for a motion. Thank you.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Lewis. Second by Commissioner Holland. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair Jones.
Yes.
Member Chen.
Yes.
Yes.
Member Lewis.
Yes.
Committee Member Lipa.
Yes.
Committee Member Morales. Committee Member Raymond. Committee Member Reed. Committee Member Romero.
Yes.
Madam Chair Coulter, absent. Committee Member Knight, absent. Committee Member Gates, absent. Committee Member Sanchez, absent. Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That concludes item number 10. Moving right along. Item number 11, future agenda items. Do any members have any items or additional items that they are requesting to be put on to upcoming agendas? Yes, Commissioner Ray.
Yes, I was hoping LHD could report on the branding plan.
The
Branding plan, which pertains to our communications planning. And then I was also hoping we could follow up on AB 698
okay,
and have a discussion.
excellent. Can we place that on the agenda?
Yep, we will add that, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you.
We'll work with LEHD on the branding, making sure there's a ability to report on that.
Any more additions? No? All right. Is it possible for us to see if there was any of the public comments that didn't make it to the very first call? Is there anybody?
Yeah, so we have Chris Tyler. If you are still wanting to speak, I can allow you permission to speak. Is this the right time to do that? Okay. So Chris Tyler, I am allowing you to speak.
Hey there, can y'all hear me?
Yes, and thank you for your patience, Chris.
Oh, yes, of course. Hi, my name is Chris Tyler. I am a member of the Los Angeles Tenants Union. I also work at Sage. And I am just wanting to share a little bit about a process I've been involved in as a member of the I Love Lucille Tenants Association. We have been trying now for the better part of the last year and a half to acquire a building in Silver Lake, home to many long-term tenants who have been there for years, if not decades. And we have been in and out of escrow. It's been a very long and difficult process. Last year, we thought that there would be funding coming in from the state via the FIP program, which was eliminated in the budget cuts. And we've just been sort of waiting on the ULA funding and getting some clarity around what may or may not be available to us via the acquisition and rehabilitation program. So I mostly wanted to share this to give a little bit more perspective around the urgency. We have 3 units that are occupied by long-term tenants that are likely going to be Ellis acted and evicted out of their homes if we are not able to acquire this building. And we've heard a lot of chatter around ULA and have done our diligence to research what we can around it. And also have just found it sort of difficult to understand how best we can serve as advocates in this process. So I share this also because I think there's definitely will amongst tenants, especially tenants who are involved in these kind of pending acquisition cases, to collectively steward our buildings and bring our buildings under control of the tenants who live there. So I just want to make a case for, one, prioritizing that acquisition and rehabilitation program as one that has funding available as soon as possible for us and for other buildings who are attempting to acquire the property from their landlord. And also just to ask for clearer parameters around how the different community stakeholders can engage in the advocacy process, whether that's coming to city council, giving public comment, sharing our story, putting pressure on council and other electeds in ways that make sense, given the needs of this Community Oversight Committee. We would welcome those guidelines, those parameters, and to just continue that kind of sharing in process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris, for your comment. And again, that just shows the urgency that we need to make sure that we get these funds out, because we do have people in need that are really in desperate need of losing their housing. So thank you for that. And in answer to the question, please feel free to come, share your stories, tell your tenants to share their stories, and all of the above. City Council here, and don't forget, we have La Casa. Thank you. Is there any more public comments? All right. Well, thank you. That seems as though that we can close public comment.
Madam Chair, before we adjourn, I'll just note, stay tuned, committee members, for a special meeting, which will be brief. But please stay in your seats. It's going to be fun. I guarantee it. It'll be an exciting opportunity for us to be more expeditious in your ad hoc meetings.
Thank you. Okay, that gives me, I guess, the window to go on to item number 12 and adjourn our regular meeting. And thank you so very much. We appreciate it. And our next meeting will be on April 24th at 2025. And now the time is 4:13.
The special meeting will take place in about 30 seconds. So give us a second. Okay.
No. And in fact, for roll, I'm just going to note, have the secretary note that the same people that were here when we adjourned, with the addition of actually Holland came later, so.
All right, is everybody ready? Mr. City Attorney, I just want to make a special note that all of the regular members are still present
Yes.
and we can start our meeting.
Just one note, when we called the regular meeting to order, committee member Holland was not present, but she did come in the middle of the meeting and she was here when we adjourned regular. So she's actually present for special as well.
Thank you. All right. Good afternoon. Fellow COC members and I guess all those who have joined us. And I'd like to call to order our special meeting at approximately 4:14 p.m. Today is Thursday, March 13th, 2025, and welcome to our special meeting of the United to House LA Citizens Oversight Committee. We don't need housekeeping. So would you like to call roll, Mr. City Attorney?
As I mentioned, all the members that were present when we adjourned the regular, including Commissioner or Committee Member Holland, were present. So we will carry on as.
Thank you so much. And we'll move to item number 3, public comment.
Is there any public comment? Are there any cards?
And just to note, since it is a special meeting, the public comment is on the agenda items only, not general public comment.
Correct.
Thank you. Seeing none. All right. That closes public comment. And we can move on to item number 4, to amend the COC bylaws, Article 5, Committee Section 6.02, ad hoc committees. In order to ensure that the ad hoc committees can function and move their work forward, it has become clear that edits to the bylaws were needed. So please review the processed language to Section 6.02(3) of the bylaws. Proposed edits are shown in red text in your agenda with the general language of the bylaws in black. This change will ensure that the ad hoc committees have the authority to conduct day-to-day business and move their work plans forward without the approval of the entire COC. I will open the floor for discussion. Seeing none? Okay. Having considered that there is no discussion, I will entertain a motion on the action to amend the bylaws with the items that are marked in red.
I move to amend section 6.023 of the ULA COC bylaws with the following language. Section 6.023, ad hoc committees shall have the authority to make decisions internally regarding day-to-day business in accordance with their scope of work. Decisions made within ad hoc committees regarding budgets and work plan shall be brought forth to the full oversight committee for final approval.
So moved by Commissioner Raymond. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Lipa. Any discussion? Seeing none. Can I please call for a roll, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, Madam Vice Chair. Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
Committee Member Chen,
Yes.
Committee Member Holland,
Yes.
Committee Member Lewis.
Yes.
Committee Member Lipa.
Yes.
Committee Member Morales. Committee Member Raymond.
Yes.
Committee Member Reed.
Yes.
Committee Member Romero.
Yes.
Chair Coulter absent. Committee Member Gaeta absent. Committee Member Knight absent. Committee Member Sanchez absent. Motion passes.
Motion is approved.
Motion is approved. And thank you so much. Let's see, that concludes our agenda of this special meeting. Yay. Okay, and now we can adjourn. The time is actually 4:18. Thank you so much, and we'll convene again on April 25th.